Hello, lovely people, and welcome back to another episode of Chep Codes. I'm sure a lot of computer scientists out there have been sitting in their college classes thinking, man, I really wish I could gamble with my friends right now straight from the terminal, but unfortunately I can't. Well, look no further, because now with this app you're actually going to be able to. You see I have a big hand wins game here that'll basically take a 52 card deck, shuffle it, distribute the hands, and whoever has the highest sum of the 4 cards that get distributed to them wins. There's a player 1 and a player 2. It's completely random, so speak amongst yourself and decide who wants to be player 1 and player 2. But what's cool is while it takes no input other than just running Node.js, this is a Node.js app we are going to build today, so it's going to be using JavaScript. All you have to do is run Node.js, and then you can see the results, and if you want to double down, you can double down. So the app is going to look like this once it's been built. I'll show you guys. Game start. There are 52 decks in the card. We logged that to the console just as a sanity check to make sure that we created everything right, that we shuffled the deck properly. As you can see, an array of card objects gets dealt. Player 1 has these objects, and player 2 has these. And it looks like player 2's hand was the winner because he had 35, while player 1 only had 25. So you see player 2 wins. But say you lost $5 on that bet, you want to double down. Great, you hit that D button, you hit enter, boom, deals out another hand, and look at that. Great thing, you double down. Now we got a tie. This app, I designed it so it only goes to 2. Whoever gets to 2 wins first wins that round. So if we double down again, let's see. And it looks like player 2 took the cake. And if I hit D to double down again, it'll basically give me a thing that says game over. Player 2 has won 2 hands, and then it'll show you the win scores. So without further ado, let's build this whole app from scratch. And I'm going to be building in Replit. I will post a link to this code after the video. So if you're wondering, where can I find this code? It'll be there. So first thing, we have a package.json. If you want, this is already created, so I'm not going to, but you can run this command npm init node package manager init, and it'll create a package.json file for you, and you can fill it out. I license this under MIT, so it's open source code, good to go. The author, that's me, Chepnik, and I called it Big Hand Wins. So you see this is empty, and we're going to create this whole class, and then in this console we'll be able to run node game.js once we're done, and we should see the same result as you guys just saw. So we'll start with the card class. The first thing we want to do is define a card class to represent a playing card. If you're new to code, understand a class is kind of a blueprint for creating objects. So we are going to need card objects because we're going to need 52. We're going to need a deck of 52 cards. So I will create a class, call it card. And I'm going to need some constructors for this, and I'm going to pass a rank and a suit because those are what a card needs. So we got a rank and a suit. You can think of the rank as like whether it's an ace or jack or king or queen or 10 or whatever, and the suit's obviously whether it's a diamond, spade, a club, or a heart. So in the constructor, we pass the rank and suit, and then we'll say this dot rank is equal to rank. Great. This dot suit is equal to suit. Perfect. And then we're going to need to create a value method to determine the numeric value of that card. It's pretty simple for all the cards that, 2 is a 2, 7 is a 7, but for the ace, that's going to be a 14, king will be a 13, queen will be a 12, and jack will be an 11. So we'll use if type of, so if that evaluates to true, this dot rank is equal to number. So if the type of rank is a number already, well, then we can just go ahead and return this dot rank because it is a number that already has a number value, so we don't need to worry about assigning it another one. But we're going to need 4 else ifs. Yeah, that's correct. 4 else ifs. If this dot rank is equal to an ace, so an A is what's going to represent that for us, then we'll say return 14. And I'll go ahead and paste in the rest because you guys get the idea. Please note here that we are going to use an else if because only one condition can be true, and this makes the code just more efficient by not having to check the multiple conditions. And like I said, we are only going to need to do this for the face cards because all the other cards are automatically a number, so we just return that rank. We don't have to worry about assigning the rest of these. So let me just make sure that does not look ugly as hell. Great. And then my OCD is kicking in. It's probably a faster way to do this. I should learn the dev shortcuts. But alas, all right, great, we got the value of, and then final thing we need to do is we need to make sure that we export default card, because we will be using this card class in other files of ours. But yes, that does look good so far. If I missed something, we'll find out when we actually go to run this. So the second thing we're going to work on file-wise is the deck. And I'm going to import the card into the deck, because you can't build a deck without cards. So I'm going to import that from card.js, which is in the same folder. So this right here is just basically saying, hey, in this file path right here that we're already in, pull this from the pull card from the card.js file. And then I'm going to go ahead and import Lodash, which is basically it's a library that will let us use a shuffle function. And I want to make sure we can shuffle the cards. If you're playing with a buddy, it's smart. You know, might be some computer science whizzes out there who start to understand how the Lodash shuffle algorithm works to give themselves an advantage. If you want to mitigate that, maybe randomize it between you guys, hold a number behind your back, and whoever wins gets player one, something like that. I don't know. But there are definitely ways where if someone does understand the algorithm behind the Lodash shuffle and they get an advantage, well, that can be mitigated by just randomizing who gets player one. Great, so we imported Lodash, we imported card, and we're going to need to create a deck class. So let's say class deck. I'm going to create a constructor for this. Yep, constructor. I think I spelled that right. And then I'm going to say this.cards is equal to this.build deck. So I'm going to initialize the deck with a set of cards, but we're going to need to create this build deck method, and this is a method, so I need parentheses. Fantastic. And then right below it, I will create that build deck method that I just called in my constructor. So build deck method, yep, that is correct. And then in my parentheses, I'm going to say let cards, so I'm creating a cards variable, and I'm going to create that as an empty array, because we're going to have an array of objects. And then I will create some suits. Again, all this code will be open source, so feel free to just copy and paste it, because I don't know how to get all these suits things, so I just have it ready to copy and paste in there. Perfect. And then I will actually write out the ranks files, because I do not, it's not some weird thing that's not on my keyboard. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then these are the strings: Jack, King, can't forget the Queen, getting ahead of myself here. Great. Then we're going to need the Ace. Perfect. So we have two arrays and then an empty array. And let me just get some spaces here, because that looks better. My OCD is kicking in. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Some nice spaces. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay, and then we are going to need to create all 52 cards in a standard deck. So we're going to use a for loop inside of a for loop, which if you start talking about big O notation, which is incredibly confusing stuff, and I'm still getting the grasp of it, but it's not the fastest to do it this way. But that's all right. This is a simple app you're going to run on your own machine, and it's not like some insane production environment that's live, so you should be fine to use a for loop inside of a for loop. It's like constant rank, constant suit of suits, and then for constant rank of ranks. And I'll explain to you guys what this is doing in a second after I create it. So card.push. So basically, it's going to do this. For every suit of the suits, I want you to iterate over it. And then for every rank of ranks, so it's going to come here, and it's going to, okay, we got these two. What do you want to do? And I need to finish writing this out so I can tell it what to do. Card.push, we will create a card objects and add them to the deck. So we're going to initialize a new card. We'll say new card, and then the parameter is the rank in the suit. And we want that because, of course, these are, it's going to say, well, what suit are we on? We're on the diamond, and then what rank are we on? We're on the 2. Okay, great. So we're creating a new card. Well, what are the rank and suit? Oh, gotcha. All right, well, let's do this again now that we've done this. All right, so we are the diamond. We did the 2. Oh, we're on the 3. And then it'll go so on and so forth until it's completed all these. And it'll go to the next one, iterate through all of these, and then the next one until it's created a deck of 52 cards. And I need to make sure that I close this off with a little semicolon right there. Fantastic. And then I want to return this is where the lodash function comes in handy. So I can call the shuffle method, which is part of the lodash methods we get when we imported that package. And what should I call that? Cards, of course, because the cards is the empty array. So basically, we're creating our deck of cards inside this empty array by using a for loop inside of a for loop. Perfect. So return lodash shuffle.cards. Yes, that's what we want. And then basically we're going to want to deal these after we have done so. So return shuffle.cards. Am I forgetting anything? Yes. Return shuffle.cards. That's fine. Deal. I'm going to need to make sure I deal these, so deal number of cards. So you can change this, but I like 4. I think that's a good, fair amount. And we're going to deal a specified number of cards from the deck, so like 4. So then I will go ahead and return this .cards.splice, 0 number of cards, so what we pass up here. So it will go ahead and remove and return the first numbers cards from the deck. What am I forgetting here? Yes, that looks good. Turn this .cards.splice. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Go back, last deck. I'm just forgetting. There we go. That's what I did wrong. I closed off. Apologies for that long-winded way of me trying to figure out where I messed up. Coding takes one thing. You know what? Just to show you guys, if you ever like, man, my code is not indented properly. Well, there's a lot of great use cases for AI, and this is another one of them. So just gonna say, hey, indent this so it looks good. It'll go ahead and indent that perfectly. Thank you. Yep, okay, yep, that's exactly what I wanted to see. Perfect. So now, once I make sure that is good, yep. We got 2 of the 4 files. Our game.js file is the main big one, so let's create the hand file next, a little bit of smaller one. We're going to create a hand class. So that is what the person has. And we're going to need to pass it a constructor, and we're going to pass it cards inside that constructor because it's the hand someone has. Say this.cards is equal to cards. Great. And then we're going to need to create a value method, and this method is basically going to calculate and return the total value of all the cards in someone's hands. So since this is a method, we'll need parentheses. We don't need to pass anything, but what we're going to do is return this .cards.reduce, right? Spelled that wrong. .reduce. Fantastic. Reduce is a method, and inside of that, we're going to want to pass it sum and card, and it's actually going to be an arrow function. We'll say sum plus card dot value. So the value method is one we actually created earlier, I believe, in the card. Yep, in the card.js. Great. And yep, I think I got everything implemented here. No, I do not actually value. We need to also pass it a0. And we'll need to export the hand. Export default hand. And I probably should import card here just to be on the safe side. Import card from card.js. Great. Yes. Let me basically give you guys some code comments too, just because I think code comments are super helpful sometimes to see what's going on here. You know, return this.cards.reduce. You might wonder, what is this reduce method? What does it mean by arrow function? So just to provide a little bit of clarity, I got some notes for you guys right here. We're going to use the reduce method to calculate the total value of the cards in the hand, and that reduce function takes two arguments, method, function, kind of the same thing. Not exactly, but pretty much. It takes a callback function that defines how to start the process how to process each element in the array, and then an initial value for the accumulator, the starting value. So we need to set that starting value to 0, obviously, because we are going to add up the 4 cards they get. We don't want to give any one player an advantage. So if you do want to beat your buddy out, maybe this is you can play around with this and figure out how to give player 1 or player 2 an advantage. But you know, gamble responsibly. If you're going to gamble with your buddy, that would not be cool to do at all. You know, you should leave it to randomness. And I guess with computer science, the beauty is that you can both check the code before you go ahead and compile it and run it in your terminal. But anyways, I digress. Let's get into the most fun part. Let's actually create the game. So we're going to need to import some modules. We're going to import this readline module. So import readline from readline. And the reason we need to import readline is because this is what's going to allow us to basically, do you want to double down or do you want to quit the game? And it's going to take that input. So we'll also import the deck from deck.js. Great. Import hand from hand.js. Great. And first thing, we'll create a readline. So I'm just going to call it RL. That's going to signify the readline. Readline.create interface. And create interface is actually a method. And I'm going to pass it an object inside that. And it'll be basically the input and outputs. So input process.stdin. And then output process.stdout. Great. Yep, close that off so that way a user can respond. And then I'm just going to do a simple console log here that just says game start to let a user know that the game has started. I'm going to put these in, when you get backticks like this, I think it's called a string literal, and basically it makes it so it takes stuff literally. You'll see in a little bit why that's super important. And this backslash with an N will start it on a new line. So we're just like, all right, game start, we're good to go. I'm going to say let deck equal new deck. So I'm going to create a new object from that deck class. So yep, let deck equal new deck, perfect. And then just for a sanity check, I'm going to go console log, and I want to check how long the, I want to make sure there are 52 cards in this deck, right? So I'm going to use string literals again. I'm going to say there are, and this is why string literals are powerful. If I do the money symbol and then two squiggly brackets, I can say, what is it? Deck.cards.length, right? So the cards in the deck, what is the length of those? And then there are, so we should get the actual length of that array. Because remember, it is an array because in, where is it? Yes, right here, cards. Cards is just an empty array. So how many things are in that array? What is the length of that array? And it should be 52 if we initialize it properly. So cards in the deck. And I think it just looks better to basically give it that backslash n. Great, so it starts on a new line. Love it. And then I'm going to create two variables right here, right? I'm going to create a let player 1 wins equal 0. And I'm going to do the same thing with player 2. I'm just going to copy and paste this code and change the 2, change the 1 to a 2. Great, so they both start out with 0 wins. Obviously, if you wanted to give someone an advantage, you could just set that to 2 and they could automatically win. But again, that's cheating and that's not cool. All right, so now we're going to create a function to display the current win counts for both players. So we'll call this function display win counts. And let me say console.log. We'll use string literals again. Player 1 wins. And then right here, I want to pass in this integer number. So I will copy and paste player 1 wins. Perfect. And I'm going to do the exact same thing with player 2 and just change out the 2's, just like that. Let me give this actually a semicolon right there that looks better. Perfect. Player 1 wins, player 2 wins. Great, so you can see the number. We have basically a function, a method here that will display the win counts when called upon. And now we're going to create a function to continue the game or end it based on the user input. So again, this is why we downloaded the read line thing, so a user could let us know, hey, I want to quit the game. You know, I played one hand, I lost, I'm done gambling, or I want to double down. The user should be in control of that. So we'll call this function continue game, and then the first thing we're going to need is RL, so that's our read line question. And in that question, I'm going to say enter D to double down, or Q to quit. Perfect. And gotta do some other stuff, right? So I'm gonna need that input, and then I'll pass it an arrow function, which basically will take that input. And before I pass it on, I want to make sure that this input, you know, because sometimes if a person does a space, or if they don't do an uppercase letter, it could throw arrows. So just to avoid all of that, I'm going to say input is equal to input, and then we'll call some methods on this bad boy. So the first method I'm going to call is trim. So just make sure if I have random spaces in there, that will get rid of it. And then I'm going to say to uppercase, and this will make sure that if someone enters a lowercase d or a lowercase q, it doesn't matter. It'll just automatically uppercase it for them. And then now I can say if input is equal to d. And remember how I showed you guys in the beginning that this is that there are only 2 wins and the game's over. So I'm going to do another if statement to check if player 1 wins is equal to 2, or, so that's what these 2 things are, if player 2 wins is equal to 2. And I'm just going to, for speed purposes, copy that. Great, change this to 2. Perfect. And then now inside of here, if that is the case, we will console.log, and we're going to use string literals again. We'll say game over, and then we'll use string literals to say this is actually kind of a cool one. What I'm going to do right here, I'm going to say player 1 wins is equal to 2, right? And then I'm going to use what's called a ternary operator, so by putting this question mark, and if that is true, then this will display player 1. But if that is false, so if this is false, that must mean player 2 has 2 wins, so we can rest assured that player 2 should be displayed. Let me make sure that is in quotes. Perfect. So game over, which player? Whatever player actually won. Fantastic. And so I guess at the end of that string literal, I should put that player has won 2 hands. Perfect. And my OCD's kicking again. Let me just make sure we got proper space. All right, perfect. That looks good. So we'll display when counts, which is this method that we created right here. So it'll display, when counts again, just so we can see if it was a close game or if one person ran away with it. And then we're going to want to close this window, RL close. So that'll just basically exit out of our loop. And then let's do a little else here, and we'll say play hand. So if they are still playing, it'll go ahead and play another hand. Perfect. And then we're going to want an else if, because if someone wants to quit the game early, they don't want to keep doubling down, well, they should be able to do so. So we'll say else if input is equal to q, and then we will go ahead and console log that player is quitting the game. So console.log quitting game. Great, that looks good. Console.log quitting game. I think we should go ahead and display the win count one more time, just because, you know, we want to know where they were at when they quit the game. Can't have sore losers ruining the fun. And then after that, we can just do another rl.close, just like we did on the other one. So just go ahead and close out. Make sure it'll exit your REPL. Read, evaluate, print loop thingy. I believe that's what a REPL is. Yeah. Don't quote me on that, because I very well could be wrong. Great. So display win counts, close, and then one more final else statement. Just say, if someone tries to put an invalid input, we'll say invalid input. Please enter D to double down or Q to quit. Perfect. Put a little period there. Great. And then we will continue the game under that. Right. Continue game. And that looks good. And now I'm forgetting something somewhere right here. It's got a little complicated. Let's see, where did I mess that up? Give me 1 second, guys. Apologies for the delay. I think I see the issue. There we go. Check if player has won twice. Deal new hands and continue the game. Perfect. Yeah, sometimes all these else if statements you just get a little tripped up, as I did there, but that's alright. Luckily this code came already built out by me to make sure it was working properly before I went ahead and built it from scratch again, and that seems to look good. So great. So now I'm going to create a function to deal the hand and evaluate the result. So let me scroll down, call this function play hand. It's good that you name your functions and variables, things you will understand. Call it hand1 is equal to new hand. Great. And then I'm going to pass it a deck.deal method. So I deal a hand for this. And then I'm just going to copy and paste this. But this should be hand2. Hand2. Perfect. That's looking good. Love to see that. Yep. And then just as a little confirmation, I'll just console.log. Let me get one more statement down. Console.log dealt hands. And then console. So this dealt, console.log dealt hands. So we know that the hands were dealt. And then I want to show actually what the hands are of each player. So I'm going to say console.log player 1. And put a little comma, hand 1 that I create up there, dot value. And this should go ahead and display the whole hand. And I want to do the same for player 2. So I'll just copy and paste that and replace the 1 with a 2. Super easy. Bop, bop. Love it. And then now I need the logic to basically see which player won. So choose an if statement. Say if hand1 dot value is greater than hand2 dot value. Yep. Then do something is what we do with code. So we'll console log player 1 wins. Hooray! But it's important we also do something else, and can you guess what it is? It's iterate over the player 1 wins. So this plus plus will basically add to this 0 up here and make sure that it iterates up 1. So plus plus, perfect. And then we need to do the same logic, else if, else if in the parentheses. And then I'm going to copy and paste this, but I'm going to change the values to hand 2 and hand 1 value. Yes, else if hand 1. And you know, I could have also just, if I hit Control Z, I realized I could also just do it like that. That's even easier. Great, so I got that. And then basically the console log the same thing here, except I should be doing it for player 2. So let me get that looking right. Perfect. And then we'll say player 2 wins, and then we will actually iterate out for the player 2's win count that we set up here. And notice that these are let. It's not a constant variable, so that's what, if you see a const somewhere, I know I create some constant variables. Yeah, const variables are variables you're not going to be changing, but since we're going to be adding one every time a player wins, these are let, so we can create new ones. Same with the deck. You know, we're creating a new deck. And then we need an else for a tie game. So if there's a tie game, then we'll simply just console.log tie game. Super simple. Tie game. What are the freaking odds? Nice. Tie game. What are the freaking odds? LOL. Bit dramatic for a tie game, but alas, that's all right. All right, cool. And then, you know, I think it's just nice to display the win tally so people have an idea of where they are. So I'll say console.log. We're going to use the backticks, the string literals. Say player 1 wins. Perfect. Player 1 wins. So they won this many times. And we're going to do the same thing for player 2. Player 2 wins. Fantastic. And then we will have a continue the game. Continue game method. Great. And then a function. I think I messed up again. It's always these if-else statements. I always mess up. And if hand values. Yes. Yes. Function play hand. Yeah, I know I'm missing just one parenthesis somewhere. I'll deal with that in a second. Apologize for the confusion. Function play game, and I just want to do a play hand method inside of here, so it just goes ahead and play the hand, and we obviously created the play the hand method right there. Great. And then at the bottom under all this, we'll just have a simple play game. So for when you first run it, it'll go ahead and start up the game. We'll call that method. And I know I'm missing a string somewhere, so I'm just going to copy and paste this real quick to make sure I created that play hand right. So yeah, deal hand for player 1, player 2, display player 1 hand, player 2's hand, calculate, display the value of player 1 and player 2's hand, increment player 1's win count, increment player 2's win count, as we see up here. Perfect. Continue the game, function to start the game, and continue the game, and then deal and play the first hand automatically. So if I didn't mess up, and I will make sure to go back before I basically push this REPL up, I will make sure that all these code comments are in there so you guys can go and play with the code and see what each thing does without having to put it in ChatGPT and ask it what it does. I'll save you that time. But fingers crossed, knock on wood, now is the moment of truth. Can we run Node game.js? And we got an error, so let's do some debugging together. Import deck from deck in the big hand wins game. The requested module does not provide an export. It's little things. All right, so we're debugging together. We need to export default deck. And now, if all is good, voila, look at that. All right, let me make this a little bigger. I hope my Chep Codes thing is not in the way. No, it's not in the way. We're good to go. Okay, so it looks like player 2 wins. I'm going to be player 1. You guys can be player 2. If I win, maybe leave a like. And if I don't win, well, you still view the video anyway. So much appreciated, much love if you watched this far. So D to double down. Oh, player 1 got to win. Let's finish it off. And it looks like player 1 takes home the cake. Fantastic. And then if I try to play again, it'll say game over. Player 1 has won 2 hands. That's it. We'll do one more game. And I just want to show you, I can press D and then space. And it doesn't matter because it trims all that space away. But if I did double D's, it would say invalid input. Please enter another one. Type summon, invalid input, Q, quit, lowercase. It still just makes it uppercase and it quits the game. And I'll run it one more time just so you guys can see all that work we just did. You see, we have an array, and it's an array of objects. An object, again, is something with a key value pair. So this card object has a rank key and a value of 10, and then a suit key and a value of heart. And I guess the suits really don't matter in this, but you need 4 suits, so we can have a deck of 52 cards. And as you can see up here, this is just kind of that sanity check in the game.js folder, just to basically, where's that sanity check we had? Yeah, right here. There are deck.cards.link, so this is just to make sure that I created the deck right when we go to iterate over them in the deck file, I believe. Yes. So right here with this for loop, again, it basically just goes, okay, we got this diamond for suit of suits, great, then for rank of rank, so this diamond 2. Let's create a new card, for our cards array. Let's create a new card, and we'll push that rank and suit into there, and then we will go forward and do that. And then we have the shuffle thing right here, so this will shuffle the cards to try and make sure that when we splice these cards and we deal them, it is a random set of cards, and people can't cheat the game. But I'm sure there's some brilliant engineer out there who understands how that algorithm works and understands the randomness and can use this game to their advantage. Nevertheless, super easy, fun game to build. Let me just go ahead right now and make sure that I add some cool comments to this just so you guys have an easier idea of everything that's going on in here. So for the card file, I'll go ahead and add that. And by the way, Replit.com is great. Don't get me wrong, I love Visual Studio Code. I think Visual Studio Code is an amazing IDE, and it is my main driver, but sometimes it's also nice to use Replit because it's cool to code straight from your web browser. I can't lie. So yeah, I just got some commented out code here. None of this code is different besides all those else if statements that I messed up, and just went ahead and copy and pasted this in from the get-go. But basically just some nice commented out code. So if you guys are checking this out on your own, you have an idea and you don't have to look up what some of these things are doing that you might have questions about. Great, game.js. And then obviously package.json has my name as the author and whatnot, but feel free to maybe remix this and create your own game, and maybe you can import some other cool packages. And let's just make sure this still works. No game.js. Looks like player 2 wins, but I'm rooting for player 1. Let's see. Oh, player 1, can he mount the comeback? Nah, player 2 took the dice. But nevertheless, you get it. All right, I don't want to see a player 1 win. Oh, that is not right. Come on, let's get a player 1 win. No. Come on, player 1, you're getting smoked. Okay, let's see. Tight game. Let's go. Player 1 took home the cake. Player 1 had 2 wins under his belt, and player 1 has won 2 hands. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope this video was a little tighter than the last one, trying to figure out some things that work, but it's incredibly powerful what you can do with JavaScript, and I'm sure there's many ways to gamble, but if you actually think this is a fun way to do it in your computer science class, well, then I'm glad you got value out of this video, and I appreciate all of you guys for watching. This is Chep Codes, and I'll be back soon with some more coding videos.